Hello everyone, welcome to the new session of Essential Plants, Nutrients and Their Functions and Deficiency Symptoms Part 2. So in this second part, we are going to discuss about some of the other important nutrients. So that are potassium, calcium, magnesium, sulphur and iron. So in this session, we are going to cover up about these important nutrients and their function and deficiency symptoms. So first of all, potassium. Plant absorbs potassium in the form of potassium ion. So this is potassium ion, and potassium is essential for the following important functions of the plant. So what are the following important functions? Potassium help in the translocation of nutrient inside the plant. So not only they are required for the functions, but also they are helping in the translocation of other nutrient inside the plants. Potash increases the efficiency of the plant leaves. So if they are more efficient means more photosynthesis, so the production of the plants can be increased if we are using potash, means potassium. So due to the use of potash, which is a sufficient amount of chlorophyll is produced in the plants. Okay, so they are required, this particular element is required for the sufficient amount of chlorophyll. Sufficient amount of chlorophyll production is affected by this potassium, presence of potassium element, right? Potash help in the smooth translocation of starch and sugar substances synthesized in the leaves and other parts of the plant from the place of their storage to the roots. So here we can see that starch, the smooth translocation of the starch and sugar substances. So sugar substances are synthesized in the leaves, but sometimes they get stored in the roots. So for its translocation, for its transportation, we require potash, right? So it helps in the metabolism of nitrogen and the formation of protein. So this is also required for the metabolism of nitrogen, and also for the formation of proteins in the plants. Potassium control water conservation. So it also conserves the water in the plant, and that is one of the very important function, right? So this potassium controls that water conservation. Degradation and evaporation by the stomata of the leaves. So degradation and evaporation means it conserves water, right? It also affect the evaporation. So the stomata of the leaves get closed, right, if the adequate amount of potassium is present, and it conserves water. So if the potassium is not present in the adequate amount, then what will happen? The stomata will be open and there will be loss of water, right? So in the presence of potash, food is produced in the plants quickly and smoothly. So it also helps in proper production of food smoothly and quickly. So if there are more cracks in the soil, the physical condition of the soil is also improved by the use of potash salt, because the potassium salts combine the calcium carbonate of the soil to form potassium carbonate, which bind the soil particles. Very, very important. So this is required for the binding of the soil particles. And if there are lots of cracks present in the soil, so that particular soil is not good for the growth of the crops or any other plants. There will be loss of water also by the process of evaporation, right? So when the potash is added to such a soil, so it combined with the calcium carbonate, and the calcium will be replaced by the potassium, and finally it formed potassium carbonate, right? So which binds the soil particle, On the contrary, if the land is heavy such as clay soil, then due to the formation of potassium carbonate, the soil become more dense. As a result, there is a difficulty in the plowing in the soil, and it is a basic condition deteriorates. So this is not good for the clay soil. So it binds the soil and there becomes difficulty in the plowing in the soil. Potassium is a very dynamic element in the plant. So its deficiency symptoms first appear in the older leaves. So let us talk about some of the deficiency symptoms of the potassium. Right? Deficiency symptoms of potassium in the plants. So the potassium is a very dynamic element in the plant. So its deficiency system first appear in the older, that is the lower leaves, means mature leaves. So first time deficiency of potassium can be seen in the older, lower or mature leaves. Due to the deficiency of the potassium, the tips of and the sides of the leaves appears crossed or burned. So suppose this is a leaf and there is a deficiency of potassium, then the side of the leaves, this particular part, side of the leaves, and also the tips of and side of the leaves appears crossed or burned like brownish. So this is the symptoms of potassium. In the case of leaves, we can see sometimes the leaves start to thicken and the tip of the leaves start twisting. So sometimes it become very thick and the tip become twisted. So this also shows the deficiency of potassium. Deficiency of potash causes the main veins of the leaves to remain green. Okay, so in this condition, the main vein of the leaves is green in color, which later dry up, and form a reticulated structure. Earlier it is remain green in, but later it form reticulated structure, dry up, right? Due to the potassium deficiency in potatoes. So here we can see in the case of potato, this is the picture of potato leaf. Due to the deficiency of potassium, you can see this brown, right? The leaves become dark green in color, which later changes to yellow, brown and bronze color, and the size of the tubers remains small because the leaves are affected. Leaves are the primary for the process of photosynthesis, and if the photosynthesis rate is affected, then again the tuber that stores the starch in it also get affected, right? So here we can see the potassium deficiency in the case of potatoes. The leaves earlier becomes dark green in color, but later it changes to yellow, then brown and then bronze color. So here you can see bronze color leaf. Small spots appear between the veins of the tobacco leaves at the end of margins as the tissue become lifeless. So here we can see in the case of tobacco leaves, the veins of the tobacco leaves at the end of the margin as the tissue become lifeless. Due to the deficiency of potassium, the corn kernels become small and sharp and the grains are less formed at the top of the corn kernel. So if this is the corn, then here the grains will be less. At the tip, the grains will be less. Lower side, the grains will be there, but at the tip, there is a less formation of the grains in the corn kernel. The symptoms of the potassium deficiency first appear in the moist areas in the field. Unavailability of the potash reduces the process of photosynthesis by increasing the respiration in the plant. So here in the unavailability of potash, there will be the increase of respiration and there will be the decrease in the rate of photosynthesis. Okay, so the next element is the calcium. Calcium is again also very important, right? Plant absorb calcium in the form of calcium ion, right? Following are the main function of the calcium in the soil. So what are the function? Calcium help in the development of roots and growing buds of the plant. So not only they are helping the development of roots, but they also help in the growth of buds, right? Growth of buds in the plants. Calcium is essential for the cell growth and cell wall formation because calcium pectate is the substance that is present in the cell wall, right? So for this cell wall formation and also for the cell growth, there is a requirement of calcium. Calcium makes the grains and the stems hard in plants. So the grains are hard, then only they can remain for the longer period, right? And also for the stems are also protected when they are quite hard in nature. So for that also the calcium is required. Calcium develop root nodules in the leguminous crops. Very important. So which element is required for the development of the root nodules in the case of leguminous crops? So that is the calcium element, calcium ion. Calcium is helpful in the carbohydrate operation in the plant. So it is again required for the carbohydrate operation. Calcium neutralizes the effect of organic oxalic acid in the plant metabolism. So organic acid, that is one of the, that is oxalic acid. So it get neutralizes, this particular acid get neutralizes with the help of calcium. So this is also required in the plant metabolism. So for the structural component also they required as well as for the metabolism. In the presence of calcium, the absorption of nitrate by the plant root increases and the protein formation is also increased, right? So presence of calcium is important for the absorption of nitrate. So nitrate is available in the soil, but if the calcium is not present in the plant, then its absorption will be affected. So nitrogen, we all know, we have discussed how nitrate is important for the plant, right? So if the element, this calcium, is not present in a proper quantity in the plant, then protein formation will be affected as there will be no nitrate absorption in the plant. Calcium help in the growth of primary roots and roots hair in the plant. So very important. If there is a proper growth, then only there will be absorption of calcium, nitrates and other important nutrients. So this calcium is a very important for the growth of primary roots and the root hair in the plants. Okay, so let us talk about some of the deficiency symptoms of the calcium in plants. Deficiency of calcium lead to the drying of the terminal buds. Very important. These terminal buds, they get dry if the calcium is not present in the plant. Due to the calcium deficiency, the buds and fruits wither in the immature stage. So there will be a loss of production if the buds and fruits wither away without getting mature at immature stage. So there will be a great loss. Root development remain incomplete. As we all know, there is a proper requirement of the calcium for the root development, root growth, for especially the root hairs and the primary roots. The edge of the new upper leaves are curled and wrinkled. The margin and the tip of the leaves may die. So that also affect the process of photosynthesis. Okay, though the third one is the magnesium. Third important nutrient is the magnesium. Plant absorb magnesium in the form of magnesium ion. It largely involves chlorophyll synthesis, production of transportation and enzyme activation, and the protein synthesis. So first thing, it is very important for chlorophyll synthesis. So the chlorophyll structure is somewhat like table tennis racket. Okay, so this is a racket like structure. This is a phytol tail like structure. In this ring structure, porphyrin ring, there is a presence of magnesium ion. So this is the structure of chlorophyll, like this. Chlorophyll, it is somewhat like table tennis racket. So there is a phytol tail and porphyrin ring like a structure, and in this ring structure there is a presence of magnesium ion. So now this, for the synthesis of chlorophyll, there is a requirement of calcium. So if the calcium is less, then there will be less chlorophyll, and on contrary, there will be affected photosynthesis, right? So magnesium is mainly helpful in the formation of chlorophyll in the plant. Just now we have discussed. It helps in the translocation of nutrient inside the plants and absorption of nutrients in the plants. So not only it is important for the translocation of other nutrients, whereas it also affects the absorption of important nutrients. Many enzymatic activity inside the plants take place smoothly in the presence of magnesium. So there are so many enzymatic activity, right, that require the presence of magnesium ion, which helps in the formation of protein, fats and carbohydrates. So if there is a less or the deficiency of magnesium in the plants, then the synthesis of protein, fats and carbohydrates will be affected. So many enzymatic reactions require this element, right? Magnesium help in the phosphate metabolism and plant respiration. So it is also affecting the plant respiration and the phosphate metabolism. Due to the high mobility of the magnesium in plant, the symptoms of magnesium deficiency first appear in the older leaves. Okay, so first of all, the deficiency can be noticed in the older or the mature leaves. Magnesium deficiency causes chlorosis in the plant. Very, very important. Chlorosis in the plant. The color of the lower leaf old of the plant lost from the tip and margin, and later color to the entire leaf is lost. So earlier the loss of the green color start from the tip and margin, and later increases to the main lamina part of the, or the entire leaf is lost. Entire leaf color is lost. But it starts from the tip and margin of the leaf. Okay, so this is also one of the very important. This chlorosis is also very important. Veins remain green in this particular deficiency. The veins of the leaves remain green if the deficiency of magnesium is there. Okay. In cotton, the leaves can be light purple in color with the green veins. So here, the leaves in the case of cotton, when there is a deficiency of magnesium, then the leaves of the cotton become light purple in color, right? But the veins of the leaves are still green in color, Magnesium deficiency causes leaves to become smaller in size and curl upward. So here the leaves become smaller in size, quite smaller. Suppose this is the normal leaf, quite smaller in size, and also curl upward. So it curl upward like this. smaller in size and curled upward. Deficiency of magnesium leads to the fruit drop from the trees. So there is a loss of production. Leaves of plants of the lemon species become speckled. So it also affects the lemon species. Next important nutrient is the sulphur. Sulphur is absorbed by the roots of the plant in the form of sulfate ion and by the leaves in the form of sulfur dioxide gas. So sometimes it is also absorbed from the leaves in the form of sulfur dioxide gas, but majorly it is absorbed by the roots of the plant in the form of sulfate ion. Sulfur is essential for many growth function in the plant. What are those? It is required for the nitrogen metabolism. It is required for many enzymatic activity and protein synthesis and oil synthesis. So if there is a less availability of sulfur, then the nitrogen metabolism of the plant will be affected. Many enzyme activity will be affected. Protein synthesis will be affected and also the synthesis of oil will be affected. Sulfur enhances the resistance against the disease in plants. So this is very, very important. Sulfur enhances the disease resistance against the plant. Sulfur develops roots and increases the number of tillering in crop. So it is also important for the development of the roots. Sulfur increases the oil content in oilseed crops, that is around 4 to 9%. And sulfur is essential for the synthesis of essential oil even in plants. Adequate amount of sulfur in the field increases the field of tobacco by 15 to 20%. So the production of tobacco can increase if the adequate amount of sulfur is present in the field. The formation of root nodules is accelerated in the pulse crop. So in the case of leguminous plant, right? This element, that is sulfur, promotes the formation of root nodules, right? And that ultimately help in the nitrogen fixation. Sulfur is essential for the onion, garlic and the mustard crop. So this is very, very important. Onion, garlic and the mustard, and that pungent smell that is present in the onion, garlic and mustard is due to the sulfur only. The odor coming from the onion, garlic is formed due to the sulfur. Very important. Sulfur helps in the formation of the chlorophyll in the leaves of the plants. So they are not required directly, but it helps in the formation of chlorophyll. Sulfur produces a characteristic odor in plants of the cruciferous species. So cruciferous means mustard family. So that is also having a particular odor, right? So that is due to the presence of this sulfur in this particular family. So sometimes the question can be asked, the crucifery family, right? It is having a particular odor due to the presence of which of the following nutrients? Calcium, sulfur, magnesium, potassium. So the correct answer will be sulfur. The presence of sulfur increases the absorption or efficiency of nitrogen and phosphorus in plants. So the presence of sulfur also helps in the absorption of nitrogen and phosphorus. So though the nitrogen and phosphorus are available in the soil in adequate quantity, but if there is a deficiency of sulfur in plant, then this nitrogen and phosphorus absorption will be affected. So sulfur helps in the formation of vitamins, biotin, thiamine and vitamin B1. Okay, so this is also very, very important for this formation of different vitamins. There is a requirement of sulfur. What are those vitamins? Vitamin that is biotin, thiamine, and vitamin B1. Sulfur is also essential component in the formation of glutathione. So this is also important point. Next is iron, very important. Iron is absorbed by plants in the form of ferrous and ferric. So these are the two different forms in which iron is absorbed by the plant, ferrous and ferric. It serves as a component of many vital enzymes such as cytochromes of the electron transport chain. So they are also a structural component of very vital enzymes. So we all know how these cytochromes of the electron transport system is important in the process of respiration. So if there is a deficiency of these iron, then the cytochrome will be affected. Synthesis of cytochrome will be affected and there will be affected electron transport chain, right? So, and it is thus required wide range of the biological function. So how important this iron is, now you can understand. It is very important for the formation of cytochromes that are very, very vital for the electron transport chain. Functions of iron in plants. So what are the functions? Iron help in the formation of chlorophyll in plants. So indirectly it is required for the formation of chlorophyll. Iron is involved in the protein synthesis as well as the other metabolic activities. So it is also involved in the protein synthesis. Iron acts as an oxygen carrier in the respiration plant. Very important. Oxygen carrier. So oxygen carrier protein are there, and for the synthesis of that oxygen carrier protein there is requirement of iron. Iron is essential in the cell division in plants also, and it acts as a prosthetic group in the nitrate reductase enzyme. Very important. There is a prosthetic group in the enzyme that is called nitrate reductase. This nitrate reductase enzyme is very important for the nitrogen fixation, right? So if this iron is present in less quantity, so this prosthetic group will not be formed, and ultimately it will affect the synthesis of this particular enzyme. So what will happen? If there is not proper presence of nitrogen reductase enzyme, then there will be affected nitrogen fixation. Deficiency symptoms of the iron and sulfur. In the new upper leaves of the plant turn yellow and the veins remain green. The margin of the leaves remain green for the long time, and the severe deficiency leaves turn white. So leaves turn white, whereas the margin of the leaves are still green in color. The plant remains small or dwarf. So again, the plant is quite smaller or dwarf in nature. The lemon of the leaves, in lemon, the leaves and the twigs dry up and underripe fruits drop. So this is all about this session. We will have one more session to complete this topic. Till then, thank you very much.